night?
Let's see. Welcome to Valentine's Day. We're going to go through more Greek mythology things. If you're not done your camp, friends, I get to close that tonight. Book report checkpoint on Friday. Narrative speeches continue tomorrow. Totes excited. And let's see. What we're going to do is at the top of this blue sheet, which if you're playing the home version, I have it here, but you can also download your own version from my website, and then you'll find one that looks something like that. We're going to be filling in this part right up there. Ooh, exciting. We're going to fill in that top left corner where it has all those 10 different words, sort of like we did before, where you got to place the words in the different categories of either God or place or thing. But here, I just want to see if you can figure out what God we get this word from. So I'm going to have you take a look at it. Mostly, we're going to go back and look at those two things you just downloaded, where you're going to have the Greek God family tree go below that, or the one that says important Greek gods, and you can look on there. You're going to take a look at the gods. More importantly, take a look at the god's Roman name, because a lot of these are going to end up coming from their Roman name. About half of them do. And so you can figure out what god we get the word from. It also helps if you know what the word means on some of these. That might help you tie it back to some of the gods, but not necessarily. Partly what I'm doing right now is trying to stall to give you time to figure out the first word, to see if we get first smart kid that can figure out what word jovial connects to. So I figured if I babbled long enough, some of my smart kids would then figure it out and then give a chance for the other kids to catch up, because my heart is full of love. Get it? Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow.
So we'll see how well we can do this together. Jovial, you're going to tell me what Greek god it comes from. And jovial comes from what Greek god?
Zeus.
Well done, you figured it out. Because what is his Roman name?
Jove.
Jove, or Jupiter. He has two, because he was twice as good as all the other gods. Like a Twix is twice as good as other candy bars. That's why you get two. And so he was known as both Jove and Jupiter. Zeus, for those of you playing the home game, you're kind of out of luck here, because you won't be able to really see it. But Zeus, the one that's over here, that's not a giant banana, that's a moon. And so Zeus is the one hiding behind the moon over yonder. He's also going to be over here above Colton, and that's Zeus. If you can't see it because of the reflection, you're out of luck. I turn off the light, then you couldn't see it because of the darkness. So either way, you're going to be hosed. And then he's also the one over here, once again, holding a bunch of lightning bolts. Excuse me. Zeus was the king of all the gods. He was the top dog, the most important. He got to pick who was on Mount Olympus and all those fun things from there. Because of that, they thought whenever they saw someone that... Wait, do you guys know what jovial means?
Happy. Joy. Happy.
Oh, happy. I Googled it.
It means happy. It can also mean basically to be on top of the world. And so with that, the thought they saw someone who was really happy, like, hey, you're much like Zeus or Jove, because everything's going your way. You're in a good mood. Zeus must be in a good mood, because everything goes his way. So you are very Jove-like. And so eventually, saying that someone was very Jove-like, or very much like Zeus, became the word jovial, connected to him. The problem is, it's ironic, because Zeus, well, back up. If it's ironic that we get the word jovial from Zeus, why is that going to be ironic?
He kills people.
He spends most of his time being unhappy. He's either jealous or grumpy or killing somebody or torturing somebody or doing some awful thing. So even though we get the word happiness from him, he's not happy in most of our stories. Cereal! Our next one that we'll get to. And once again, we're going to figure out the Greek name. And it comes from, who's the Greek god?
Demeter.
Good teamwork. Demeter. And what is Demeter's Roman name?
Ceres.
Nicely done. Ceres, not Siri. That's the god of Apple phones. Completely different. Ceres, C-E-R-E-S, was the god. I wasn't even that witty with what I do. Was the god. What was Demeter the god of?
Food.
Not bad.
Breakfast.
Agricultural, growing, food, grains, all that. Sort of like Mother Earth, except we already had a Mother Earth. That was Mother Earth. Sort of like Mother Nature. Sort of like Mother Earth and Mother Nature combined. She's the one over here who's hugging all of this wheat and grain. It looks like she's throwing a gang sign for some reason, looking off into space. She's also going to be over here above my empty seats, where she's sitting on a throne with the grain growing up behind her. And then over here, she's the one holding and hugging on grain while giving the stink eye to Hades. And that's the story that we're going to get to about why she's stink eyeing Hades. But she was the god of grains and harvest and growing and all the fun stuff like that, which is why we get the word cereal from her, because cereal was food that came from Ceres. And it is food that came from Ceres. It's food made out of
Grain.
There you go.
Are you cereal?
So cereal was food made from grain.
Cereal?
Now,
No.
part of the problem is the cereal you eat today is not actually cereal. The food you eat today for breakfast with your bowl and your milk is most likely just a pile of sugar. Sometimes it has some sugar on top of the sugar. Sometimes they cover the sugar with chocolate to help the sugar go down. And sometimes they float little sugar marshmallows in there to make the sugar look good. But most of what you eat is just sugar, which is not an actual grain. The problem is, years ago, when they first started marketing cereal, it tasted like really healthy dirt. It's probably what some of your grandparents still eat when they try to convince you, you should have some of this cereal. You're like, I don't want healthy dirt, Grandma. So what they would do is they would put sugar on the healthy dirt. And then kids would eat it like, oh, this healthy dirt's better with sugar on it. And then companies wanted to make more money. Like, we'll pre-package it and go ahead and just put the sugar straight on the cereal. And kids started buying it, and they made more money. And they figured out the best way to make more money was you take out the grain bit and you put in more sugar bits. And they ended up just covering the sugar over on top of sugar, and kids just started buying it, and they made all kinds of bank. And they're like, we're making bank on this cereal. The problem is, it's no longer cereal by definition. It used to be cereal, but now, once again, it's just a bowl of sugar. But it's delicious. It is, but it's not really cereal. Volcano! And what Greek god do we get volcano from? It is? Wow, that was one of the least scary pronunciations of his name so far today. Hephaestus, which, by the way, for those of you who have trouble pronouncing his name, hopefully you've seen one of these before. There's a good chance you have one of them in your pocket too. We call these devices a phone. Now, the first two letters of the word phone are PH. So, hopefully, if you've seen a phone, you're like, it makes a f sound, just like in Hephaestus, it makes a f sound, so it's pronounced Hephaestus, not pronounced Hepatitis, where it sounds like you got a stroke halfway through saying it. Or, for the other half, like, no, Mr. Rebecca, I know how to say it, it's hepatitis. Hepatitis is a sickness you get from going to the bathroom and not washing your hands. Hepatitis makes you throw up a lot. Hephaestus, giant god with a hammer. They're a little bit different. Sometimes you'll even see it spelled with a little F in there to help you out for those of you who forget how the spelling thing works. But Hephaestus is one of our gods. What does it say in there? What Hephaestus is the god of?
Fire.
Sandwich.
Fire.
Working.
Does it say he's the god of fire in there?
No.
I didn't think so. Did you guys just say that?
Yeah, it does.
Smiths and fire?
Yeah. Got a fire.
It's a metal worker.
Technically, I'm not sure why they say fire. He's not really the god of fire. He doesn't just go around like just like setting things, stuff like that. But he was the god of the smiths and metalworking. Yes, there's fire behind him. That doesn't make him the god of fire. He's in the picture right over here with, good job, fire behind him. But that is him there. The thing that's in front of, well, one, that thing under his arm is a crutch. Because we'll get to the fact that he has a crutch. But that thing in front of him is
An anvil.
an anvil. For those of you who watch your old Looney Tune commercials, it's what you tried to drop on Daffy Duck, and then he gets like a little lump on his head. That's not how it works in real life. You drop an anvil on a duck, you get duck pancake, not duck with lump on head. And as a kid pointed out to me earlier, Mr. Brovicast, we use those in Minecraft. Good job. That's the same thing that you have in Minecraft for those of you who have been in your Minecrafting days. Back over yonder, behind Braverson, there's another picture of Hephaestus there. It's harder to see that one, it's a little darker, but he has a crutch under his arm there. And Terhune, that thing behind him right there, that's fire. And then over here, he's the one sitting down looking all grumpy with a girl named Hestia standing behind him. And he's the one sitting there. He is the only crippled god. The only crippled god, which is a story we're going to get to next week. That he was thrown out of a window by his dad when he was a baby. And so because he was a baby at the time, and he made his father mad, he would refuse to ever let him heal, and so forever, the rest of mythology, he always had one leg that was all shrunken up and nasty, so he had to go around on a little crutchy thing and stuff like that. But Hephaestus, god of fire. Sorry. God of metalworking. Now you've got me saying it too, you horrible, horrible children. God of metalworking and smiths. The problem is, it made a lot of noise whenever he was working and banging away on the stuff like that. So the other gods didn't let him keep his forge up on Mount Olympus. They made him take it somewhere else. So what he would do is he would go find a random hollow mountain and set up a forge inside this giant hollow mountain. And that's where he would start his work. But as he worked, it would sort of build up all of the heat that would be generated, and eventually it would swell up, it'd get to the top of the mountain, and eventually pop off the top of the mountain. Whenever they saw that happen, they assumed that was the place where Hephaestus had his forge. And they would say, that's the home of Hephaestus. Well, eventually the Romans come along, and they would keep that same thing going, and say that's the home of Vulcan. And so whenever you saw this mountain with the top exploded, that was the place where Vulcan was, and eventually became called a volcano. So volcano is just a big mountain of fire, because that's where Hephaestus had set up his forge, and it would go all explodey out of the top. And yes, he would move around from mountain to mountain to mountain from different locations and stuff like that, which is why you'd have all these different rotating type places. Sandi. Done. Terhune.
I would just like to make it known that it's a mountain of
Yeah, as soon as I saw that pop up, I realized it was going to come back to haunt me. It's very kind of you to not let me go free on that one. Next up, we'll get to Hermes. And
It's a girl.
It's a mercurial.
It's a dude.
Mercurial.
Same thing.
Hermes.
Pay no attention. We'll rewind. If you're watching at home, rewind and just cut out that last part. Mercurial. And what god we get Mercurial from?
Zeus. Hermes.
It's been a long day. Hermes! Well done. Hermes, the one over here above where Braden is, looks like he's doing the Heisman Trophy pose. Because he's like, I just win. Also, if his arm was slightly higher, he'd be doing the world's first dab. But he was just a little bit off. He dropped it just a little bit because he didn't know what he was doing. It's embarrassing. He's also the one, he was the fastest of all the gods. He's the one that's over here above where Jake is, where apparently he ran so fast. If you're fast enough, it is scientifically proven that your clothes will fall off. And that's why he no longer has a shirt in that picture, because he was the fastest of the gods.
I mean, Dionysus is also fast.
Also, over here, he's the one running with the little clothing still on him, because apparently he's not achieved peak speed. On your little sheets, they have him on both of the little handouts. They'll give you a bunch of information about him. He did have a main job in Greek mythology. His main job was messenger of the gods. Technically, he worked for one god in particular. Hiccups. Correct. He worked for Zeus. And we'll get to that a little bit later on, because we're going to talk about the connection between him and Zeus and Hera and stuff like that. But this Greek mythology was roughly 7 or 8 years before email was invented. So if you were wanting to send a message from one person to another, you had two options. One, you had to stand and just yell as loud as you could and hope they heard you. Or two, you would send a message to them. And Zeus oftentimes is more of the message sending type, which is why up there in his hand he has the little scroll he's carrying as he's running along. Because his job was to deliver messages for Zeus. Also, while he was doing it with all of his fast running, the shoe that he is wearing, for those of you who took part in either track or cross country, the symbol that you see for track and cross country will be the shoe with the little wings on the back of it. It goes back to Hermes and the fact that he was super duper fast. Those of you who are into comic books, The Flash from DC was based on Hermes. So much so that if you go back and look at the original costume that Flash had,
like wings on his
he
head.
had wings on his helmet. Now, not the TV show now, not the movie now. Not even on the movie, he has like little lightning bolts on the side. But originally those lightning bolts were wings before they changed to lightning bolts. Before that, he actually wore a hat way back in the 1940s with little wings on the hat, because it was supposed to be based just straight off of Hermes and Mercury. With that, the things that he is the god of. One, he was the god of messengers. On top of that, it says he's the god of merchants. Do you guys know what a merchant is?
Yeah.
Money
travels,
making
money trade.
What's a merchant?
Sells.
Money,
Guy from Terraria. Money.
If you have seen the beginning of the Disney cartoon Aladdin, where he's running around the little courtyard area and he's like stealing the food and things like that, that's how they work. The reason merchants prayed to Hermes, the faster you spoke, the more money you made. Because you were just yelling at people, and the more people you could yell at, the more money you would make. So merchants would pray to Hermes. On top of that, it says that thieves would pray to Hermes. The reason that thieves would pray to Hermes is if I'm a thief and I want to be good at what I do, you want to make sure that you are fast. So the faster that you can get away with something and walk over and grab it, the better chance you have of doing it. So thieves would then pray to him and be like, yay, look at that, some magic plate. He's making pins. Or, if I was a thief and wanted to do something, on the off chance I'm not good at stealing something and someone was able to catch me in my process, you are the worst catching person ever. I'm going to steal all of your stuff until you grab this, you horrible. Good job! If you got caught in the middle of trying to steal something, you'd be like, and then you, Zeus! And you'd have to take off running from there because you'd pray to my let me grab it quickly, or if I get caught, let me run away, unless you steal from Abeo, and then you can just go ahead and take it while she watches you, and you can probably just roll away, because you're like, what's that person doing? They just took my stuff. Oh, well, I'll just sit here. And so, good stuff. Mercurial, the word, means to change quickly, in two different ways. One, science. If you have a mercurial scientific or chemical reaction, if you've ever seen someone do the whole Mentos into a Diet Coke, that's a mercurial reaction. Look, no mess, blah, giant mess. That took all of 2 seconds. And so that would be a mercurial reaction where it goes really quickly. Ice freezing, not mercurial. That's really slow. You're like, oh my God, the ice is freezing. You'll never make. Nope, you've got it now. So you're probably going to be safe. The other way is often in sports, and they'll refer to someone as having mercurial skills, like on the soccer field. If you have the ability to cut one direction and then turn and go the other direction, they'll say that you are mercurial. There's actually a type of soccer shoe, the brand, called Mercurial, because the idea is that you can cut and change directions quickly from one to the other. With Hermes, if you look up at his little hand, yonder, he's carrying a little stick with 2 wings on it and 2 snakes wrapped around it. He has the same stick over here, although it's kind of hard to see these little white wings. Same thing over here, although all you can really see are those 2 little white wings. If you're having trouble seeing it, it'll look like this. It's called the caduceus staff. It is a stick, 2 wings, and 2 snakes that go back and forth across it. He would carry this around with him because one of his jobs in Greek mythology was taking people down to the underworld. They thought once you died, your ghost would pop up above your body, and you sort of just hang out there like, oh, I'm just kind of stuck here, kind of bored. Hermes would run by, grab your ghost, pick you up like a little piece of string, and you'd flap in the air behind him as he took you to the underworld, throw you down, and then run and grab the next one. But sometimes he would get to you, and it wasn't your time to die yet. So he'd get to you like, oh, I don't have time to take you down, you're going to still stay alive. So then he'd grab his stick and just give you a little badonk, like, ugh, I'm still alive, and you'd still be good to go. So he carried that staff with him as a way to heal people. Years later, when doctors wanted to show people that they could heal you, but people could not read or write, there was a symbol they would use to show people that I could heal you. And so oftentimes, you'll see a stick with a snake around it, or the stick with 2 wings and 2 snakes around it, because it got connected all the way back to healing, going all the way back to Hermes. And so you'll see it there with the back of the ambulance, with a little stick and a little snake going around it. Technically, that one is a different name. It's the staff of Eclipses, which is a whole different story, but they kind of got blended together over the years. But either one, they're used to heal you. Sandy?
For the next one, I have a question.
No, we're not there yet, are we? Braden?
What you were saying about, like you talk fast and you sell stuff, there's some bald guy doing a fundraiser for band earlier.
Yeah.
He was talking really, really, really fast, so I think
very
that's his method.
Mercurial of him.
Yeah.
Our next one, fatal. Well, Stephen, you're correct. It does show up in Fortnite, in Fatal Fields. There's a reason why it shows up in Fortnite for Fatal Fields, and it goes back to Greek mythology. But first, you have to figure out, now it's not one god, it's actually 3 gods who work together, if that helps you out. The 3 gods are called the
Fates.
Nicely done. The Fates. Don't try to make it sound Greek, because I've had kids tell me, is it the Fates? The Fati? No, it's not. It's just called the Fates. There were 3 sisters who were the Fates, who were older than any of the other gods. They were thought to be some of the oldest ones that lived up on this really tall mountain.
Like you on the
over
heroes
in
team?
Greece. You're really trying to get yourself kicked out. Committing to it. Not the attacking me. I can care less about that. It's just the talking while I'm talking. The Fates, the 3 sisters that lived up on this mountain, and their job was to control how long every living creature lived. All right, now we don't care about squirrels. But humans and titans and stuff like that. How long they were going to live. If you've seen the Percy Jackson, the taxi drivers that work all together, like they share an eyeball and they drive all over the place, those were the three fates. If you remember the Hercules cartoon, there were the three ugly sisters living, and they try to like kill Hercules by cutting his string, and the sisters like, they go different directions. Those are the three fates. The way it worked in Greek mythology, the way these three sisters worked together, was the first sister, by the name of Clotho. She had a giant ball of magical string, and her job was to pull the string before a baby was born. So we're going to have baby Delaney. Congratulations. So baby Delaney is getting ready to come into the world. Before she's even born, the three sisters get together to decide how long her life is going to be. They go, baby Delaney is incoming, let's get ready, girls. They get together, they all high five, high five, high five. And Clotho goes over to the giant ball of string. She's the only one that can actually handle the string. So she'd grab the string and start pulling it off the big magic string ball pile. And she's like, all right, come here, Lachesis. Lachesis was the second sister. She had a magical stick, measuring stick. But it didn't have feet or inches on it. It was measured in seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years. And they would start pulling out this string to figure out how long baby Delaney is going to be alive. And they start pulling it along there until they got to like the 72-year mark. That's pretty good for baby Delaney. And then the third sister, Atropos, would step up. And Atropos had a pair of magical scissors. The only thing that was known to be able to cut the magical string was Atropos' scissors. And she would step up, wing, and she would cut the string. The moment she cut it, the string would disappear and become baby Delaney's life force. So it was like measure, slap down, cut, fizzle, baby Delaney is in the world. And as soon as baby Delaney's born, we automatically know she's living 72 years, 4 months, 3 days, 12 hours. And then we know it all the way down to whatever it's going to be. That's exactly how long you get to live. Sometimes, when they pull the string, it wouldn't go very far and it would snag, like, here comes baby Delaney. And they pull it like, well. And they'd slap it down and cut it at like the 2-minute mark. And then baby Delaney's born. And that was how they would explain that you have baby deaths, was because the string just didn't get pulled out very far. Now with that, they didn't explain to you how you died, just the exact moment of your death. How you died depended on where you were. So let's say Delaney's only goes out to like 13 years and 2 months and 5 days, or however old she is, and that's the moment she's supposed to die. Depending on what she's doing is how she dies. If her string expires and she's in the lunchroom, she's probably going to end up choking. Like, oh, this is wonderful. And then down she goes. If she's after school, say walking along the neighborhood, she's like, I'm just having a great day. And then a bus is and runs over. Whatever it could be, it's just that's the moment that you're going to die. Now, let's say Delaney is afraid that she's going to die. She's like, oh no, death is coming. I know my 13 years, 4 months, 2 days is coming. And she goes, I'm going to go sit in this perfectly empty room with nothing around me. That way the fates can't kill me. Well, in that case, one, an earthquake happened. And then she falls down the middle of it. Or if there's no earthquake, maybe even she's just in there shaking her fist. And he's like, ha, I'm going to win. You're heart attack. And there's like, I'm like, 13-year-old dies of heart attack. And so whatever it is, that's the moment that you die. At the same time, let's say Delaney finds out that she's not going to die until she's 72 years old. So she decides to fight crime. She's like, my name is Katie, the crime fighter. And she goes out there and she's like, I'm going to live for another 60 years and not die because I already know what the fates are going to do. And she goes up to the first bad guy and just punches him right in the face. She's like, it don't matter what you do. He's like, okay. Shoots her in the head. Delaney doesn't die. But she goes into a coma for the next 60 years. Because according to the Greeks, that's how you explain comas. Because apparently your string's not up, but you made a poor choice. And so you get to lay in the coma for the next 60 years until you reach that 72-year mark, and then Delaney's like, I made it, and now she's dead. And that's how they explain it. So back to Delaney dying. If Delaney got hit by a bus, the newspapers would say then the next day, there was a fatal accident outside Fisher's Junior High involving a student. Fatal means her string was up. Anytime you see the word fatal, what do we know happened to her?
Death.
She done dead. So fatal means to die or cause death, which is why in Fortnite you have the fatal fields, because when you go there, you're gonna die.
Most likely. What if you?
That should be called the Fatal Towers, but whatever. I didn't name the place.
No, you get tilted at the tower.
Yes, Sandy again.
Is this one more?
Right, that's why I didn't call on you before. So as we go through it, going on to our next one, Iris. And so I have to figure out where we're going to get Iris from.
Iris.
Good job.
Your
But what god do we get it from?
Iris.
Right, I know the word, but what god is it doesn't get old. Iris. Oh, it's so hilarious. We get Iris from the god Iris.
Well, it's not fair.
I know, right? It's like right there. Mr. Brovie, I could have been lazy. You could have been. And just written down the word again.
Oh,
I know. She landed it. What skills? With Iris, what does it tell us about Iris? She was the
Rainbow.
rainbow god and
Of the rainbow. Messenger of Hera.
both of those were her main jobs. She's not in any of our posters because she was not one of the main gods, but her big thing was that she was a messenger for Hera. But Mr. Brovie, they already have a messenger. They don't have a messenger. Zeus has a messenger, which plays a really important role. In Greek mythology, Zeus and Hera were married. Hera was known as Mrs. Zeus. She's the one that's right over there in the pink. That's Mrs. Zeus. Over here, sitting next to him, that's once again Mrs. Zeus. And then over here, Mrs. Zeus. The problem with their marriage is it was not the strongest of marriages because Zeus was a very friendly person. And Zeus liked to share his friendliness with any girl who would allow his friendliness to be partaken in. And apparently Hera did not approve of his constant friendships. So Zeus was forced to hide his friendships from his wife. Being the god of thunder and lightning and storms, he would oftentimes hide his friendships when he was down on earth. Because of this, he'd come down, find someone for his friendship times, and he would hide it by bringing in a big storm cloud, which would appear right above wherever he was. The issue is, Hera was not an idiot. So when she'd walk out on Mount Olympus, and she'd look outside, like, it's such a wonderful sunny day, and everything looks wonderful. Why is there a storm cloud over that house? And she'd look down and be like, one storm cloud just sitting over a house. Like, oh, Zeus! Now, she wasn't going to go down there herself, because that's a lot of work. Instead, she would send down her messenger. And her messenger was? Who would come shooting down to earth to come check on Zeus. Which is why, when do we see rainbows?
After rain.
Now, we don't see them after every type of rainstorm, only certain rainstorms. What does the weather have to be like for the rainbow to appear?
Sunny.
It has to be a sunny day when a rainstorm comes out of nowhere. That's when you see a rainbow. And that's how the Greeks explained it. Anytime you see the rainbow, that was going to be Iris as she was coming down to check on Zeus. Was she like a professional snitch? Yes, she was a professional snitch. That was her whole job, was to come down and then go back up and then tattle on him. So whenever you saw the rainbow, it was either her coming down or her going back up. Which means, congratulations, I have now ruined rainbows for you. Because the next time you're driving along and you see a rainbow, like, look, it's a rainbow. Zeus is being friendly. And you're going to know that as soon as that happens, it's going to haunt you every time from here on out. That's my small gift to you. Don't worry, there's more horrible gifts coming. But definition of Iris, it doesn't actually mean rainbow. She was just a rainbow goddess. But we named two things after her that connect to rainbows. One is
Your eye.
part of your eye. And the other part is? Did not do the other one.
Flower.
It's correct. It's a type of flower. And with your eye, yeah, it's not the black part of your eye. It's not the white part of your eye.
It's the rainbow
We're going to
part.
name the color part of your eye after the god of rainbows. I think that kind of makes sense. With the iris, there's the flower, the iris. Now, why do they name this flower iris as opposed to all the other flowers? Because it comes in so many colors? Right. Except, so do all the other flowers out there. Why they pick this particular one?
It's like a rainbow coming down.
No idea. They're like, I like that flower, I hate those other flowers. And so they just named this one the iris after the rainbow goddess. Now to creep you out, here's a picture of a giant eyeball. And so with the iris, it's going to be the giant blue part that goes around there. The black part in the middle, the black part in the middle is going to be the pupil. For those of you who are all scientific-y, this part is not called the white part, for those of you who are all creative. It's not called the cornea, because that's on the inside of the eye. Do you know the name of the white parts?
Lens.
The lens is that part right there.
Crap.
It's called the sclera.
I was close.
Oh, I knew
I got that.
So the lens is behind the eye.
Tomorrow, we are not getting back to mythology, because what are we doing tomorrow?
Speeches!
Speeches. What's due Friday?
that.
So we're not going to get back to this till like Tuesday or Wednesday of next week.
Why not Monday? Oh, we
I know, right?